On certain nights, when the wind screams like a wounded soul and the road glistens as if wet with old blood, the people of Black Hollow lock their doors and kill their lights. They know better than to look outside. Because if you hear hooves but see no horse, if frost creeps across your window from the inside, and a woman's voice whispers your name from the dark, then the phantom rider has found you. And once she does, the road will never let you go. The night the phantom rider returned, the moon hung low and bruised, as if the sky itself had been wounded. Thick clouds dragged slowly across the heavens, swallowing the stars one by one. A bitter wind crept through the narrow roads of Black Hollow, whispering through dead trees and rattling the shutters of abandoned houses. Those who still lived there knew that wind well. It carried warnings. It carried memories. And sometimes, when the night was cruel enough, it carried her. Long before the town was known as Black Hollow, it had another name, Ravenport. Ravenport was once alive. It stood proudly along an ancient trade route, where riders passed daily. Merchants traveled with heavy wagons full of spices and silk. Soldiers marched beneath banners stained with old wars. Messengers raced against time, carrying secrets sealed in wax. Horses' hooves beat steady rhythms into the earth, carving stories into the dirt roads. Among all those riders, one name was spoken with equal parts respect and unease. Eleanor Ashcombe. Eleanor was the finest rider Ravenport had ever known. She rode like the wind feared her. She sat tall upon her black stallion, Morcant, her posture unbroken even at full gallop. Her cloak flowed behind her like a living shadow, and when she passed through the streets, conversations fell silent. Not out of fear. Out of awe. People said Eleanor could ride for days without rest. That she knew every forest path and mountain pass by heart. She carried messages others refused to touch, through battlefields, cursed woods, and lands rumored to swallow travelers whole. She never failed a delivery. But Eleanor Ashcombe was not merely brave. She was secretive. She never stayed long in one place. She never spoke of her family or her childhood. And she never removed the silver ring she wore on her right hand. It was etched with strange symbols, curved lines and broken circles, that no scholar in Ravenport could identify. At night, when she believed herself alone, Eleanor would stare at that ring as if it terrified her. On the final night she was seen alive, a storm unlike any before descended upon Ravenport. Thunder cracked the sky open. Rain lashed the earth like whips. Lightning revealed fleeting shapes in the darkness, twisted trees, broken fences, and something else. Something moving too fast to be human. That night, Eleanor was given one final message to deliver. The parchment was sealed in black wax and marked with a sigil older than the town itself. The elder who handed it to her was shaking so badly that the letter nearly slipped from his fingers. "Do not open it," he warned. "Do not read it. And if you hear her call your name, do not answer." Eleanor studied him silently. Her expression did not change. She nodded once, mounted Morcant, and rode into the storm. She never arrived. By morning, Morcant was found wandering alone at the edge of the forest. His mane was tangled with rain and blood. His eyes were wide with terror. Eleanor was gone. No body was ever found. The message was never recovered. After that, Ravenport began to rot. Trade routes vanished. Crops failed without reason. Livestock refused to enter certain fields, crying out as if something unseen waited there. At night, people whispered of a woman seen riding along the old road, her form pale and half-transparent, her horses' hooves never touching the ground. Those who claimed to see her often fell ill within days. Some vanished completely. Others went mad, screaming of galloping hooves outside their windows, or icy fingers brushing their faces as they slept. Within a generation, Ravenport was abandoned. It became Black Hollow. And Eleanor Ashcombe became the Phantom Rider. More than a century later, most of the world had forgotten Black Hollow. Daniel Mercer had not. Daniel was a historian by trade and a skeptic by nature. He studied folklore, ghost stories, and cursed places, not because he believed in them, but because he believed people did. To him, legends were reflections of guilt, fear, and unresolved tragedy. When he received a research grant to study Black Hollow, he considered it a triumph. He arrived just before sunset. The town was nearly empty. Buildings leaned like exhausted old men. Weeds choked the streets. Only one structure showed signs of life, the inn, its windows glowing faintly. As Daniel unloaded his bags, he felt eyes watching him from behind cracked curtains. The innkeeper was a thin woman with iron-grey hair and trembling hands. "You should not stay long," she said, handing him the key. Daniel smiled politely. "I'll be gone soon." "She doesn't like strangers."
"Who?"
"The rider." That night, Daniel studied old journals by lamplight. Every account of Eleanor Ashcombe described the same thing. Sometimes she appeared as a woman on horseback, and sometimes as something far worse. A fused creature of horse and rider. Hollow-eyed. Unnaturally tall. Screaming like metal dragged across stone. After midnight, the wind began to howl. Then Daniel heard it. Hooves. Slow. Heavy. Circling the inn. His heart pounded as he pulled back the curtain. The road was empty. The window frosted from the inside. From the darkness emerged a towering figure astride a massive horse, both glowing with cold blue light. Her cloak moved without wind. Her face was shadow, except for her eyes. They were fixed on Daniel. A voice echoed inside his mind. "You carry questions. You're not real," he whispered. The rider tilted her head. "I carried answers," the voice replied. "And I was betrayed." She vanished. Daniel did not sleep. Over the following days, Daniel questioned the remaining townsfolk. Fear broke their silence. "She's bound to the road," one old man whispered. "Because the message was never delivered." "What was in it?" The man shook his head. "A truth that curses the living." Daniel explored the forest and found ancient stone circles carved with the same symbols as Eleanor's ring, binding sigils meant to imprison spirits. Eleanor had not been a messenger. She had been a vessel. That night, the rider waited at the forest's edge. Daniel followed. In a clearing of broken stones, Eleanor hovered between worlds. "They sealed it within me," she said, her voice layered with echoes. "A truth that would open the gates between worlds." She reached out. "Finish the ride." Darkness swallowed everything. Daniel awoke at dawn, alone. In his hand was a blackened letter. He left Black Hollow that morning. Weeks later, travelers spoke of two riders on stormy roads, a man and a pale woman, their horses leaving no tracks. Some say the phantom rider found peace. Others say she found a successor. And when the wind carries hoofbeats and whispered warnings, people still lock their doors. Because some messages are never meant to be delivered. And some riders never truly rest.